Hello, my name is Ben. Today I'm not going to be talking about IELTS. I bring you good news about teachers, qualified, interested, and invited to teach in the United Kingdom. Right, so this news has been everywhere on the internet, but there are salient information a lot of us do not know about, especially requirements and application processes. Of course, in recent times, we've heard that about 9 countries are eligible to apply to teach in the UK, as obviously a good number of teachers in the UK are going to other countries to work for a number of reasons. So, because of the vacancies, the English government, have decided to invite teachers, qualified and interested teachers, to come into the UK to work. And of course, we are talking about 9 countries, and this include Ghana, Hong Kong, Jamaica, Singapore, Zimbabwe, South Africa, India, and of course, Nigeria. Now, let's bring it down to Nigeria. If you are qualified and interested in teaching in the UK, I would like to show you some of the requirements, some of the things you need to do while applying to work in the UK. All right, so let's begin. Of course, the employment or work is expected to start off in February 2023, and you don't have to wait till the year 2023 before you begin your applications or before you begin to gather all you need. It is important that you do that right away. Get ready, file your applications to as many licensed schools as possible, then wait for the decision beforehand. So let's see, what do you need to do and what do you need to upload? What documents or information do you need to bring in your application? To begin, teaching in the UK is a regulated job, of course. And of course, in Nigeria, it is also regulated. I don't know if everyone is actually aware of that. Every teacher specifically is aware of this. It is a regulated job because you are licensed to work as a teacher. Of course, there is a license, teaching license in Nigeria. So if you don't know about this, you should go and begin to work towards that. Make your findings and get your license to work as a teacher. Now, coming back to working in the UK as a teacher, first and foremost, you need to be qualified to teach. So how do you get qualified? Some persons grew from acquiring their NCE to degree, up to PGD, masters and all that, and they get into teaching job. While others studied a particular BSc program and then obtained a PGD, and that qualifies them to teach. Now, apart from the academic qualification, what other things do you need? Now, you also need to get your TRCN certificate and license. What does that mean? In Nigeria, we have what we call the TRCN. Of course, you need to find out what that means. If you have not written the exam for the TRCN, please go and write and also obtain your certificate. And not just obtaining a certificate, you need to get a license. Okay? There is a license for that. It's renewable, just like every license in other professions. So that's the second requirement. The third requirement is your IELTS results. You need to write your general training IELTS. And of course, not just the regular general training IELTS, you should look for your UKVI general training IELTS test results. You need to get that. You need to have a good score because recruitments are usually based on the best candidates. So try as much as you can to get yourself a good band score. Let's say from 6 and above. Of course, if you can hit 7, you have an edge over others. If you can hit 8, good for you, right? So your IELTS, your UKVI General Training IELTS is another requirement. All right, going further, you need to get what we call reference or recommendation letter from your previous employers as well as your current before applying to work in the UK. So, of course, your employers will need to write about you. We call that the recommendation or reference letters. They need to write to indicate how well or how good you are with your teaching job. They need to also express a couple of good things: how long you've worked, your salary, how much you're paid, and all that. It also talks about your interpersonal relationship, your cross-cultural awareness and all that, and trustworthiness, right? These are some of the things that should be contained in your reference or recommendation letter. You also need to get, you need to have obtained experience in your teaching job. And where you get to show this off is in your CV, or you call it resume. You have to build a good resume that will show off how long you've worked, the position you've occupied, the portfolio you've held or managed over the period of your teaching experience. Then you have to talk about your hobbies and a few other things, your objectives, right? A profile, your CV should be built. And you don't have to build your CV on your local country's template. You are applying to the UK, so you have to build your CV to be in the UK standard and template. Okay, so besides all of these, you also need to have few other certifications. Of course, if you are computer literate, it's an edge for you. So you need to ensure or try as much as you can to be literate computer-wise. Okay, then you also have to prove that you can communicate in English language. It's a basic requirement. You must be able to communicate in English language. You have to prove that you can read, you can write, you can speak, and of course you can listen. And all of these will help you to stand better chance of receiving an invite. Now, the teaching job in the UK are in two categories. There is the category that requires you as a legal requirement to submit your QTS, the qualified teacher status. Now, for schools in England that require this QTS, it is mandatory that you have it before you are offered jobs. So talking about schools that require the QTS as a legal requirement for you to be offered job to teach in the UK are usually called maintained schools. Now, these maintained schools are sponsored schools. They are schools sponsored by the government of UK, right? So they want to be sure that the teachers they recruit, they employ, or they hire are qualified and experienced. But notwithstanding, coming to work in the UK as citizens or experienced teachers from the 9 countries mentioned earlier, of course I know you might not really have the QTS. So, but there is an alternative, there is an option to work for a couple of years, 4 years to be specific. You can work without the QTS. Now, for you to be favored in this aspect, of course, you don't need to file your application to schools that have that mandatory requirement of QTS. There are schools that are called non-maintained schools. They can employ you to work for 4 years without having a QTS. Now, these schools could be private schools. They could be individual-owned schools. Of course, once they go through your credentials and qualifications and deem you fit and qualified to work in your schools, they can offer you employment without you having the QTS. But of course, it's not going to last forever. So you are expected to also begin to work to obtain a QTS while you're working. Now, these schools can offer you jobs. So perhaps you may want to concentrate a lot more on these non-maintained schools. And of course, trust me, the competition is going to be serious. It's not going to be a joke. So you have to file all your credentials and qualifications, up your game, ensure that your resume is top notch, ensure that your IELTS result is of high band score, right? And ensure you have awesome write-ups. Ensure you have awesome write-ups when it comes to your reference letters. Come on. This is not just a Nigerian invitation. There are about 8 other countries. So it is a competition. So you have to ensure that you are good. You know what I mean by being good. Your qualifications, your years of working experience, your English language prowess, your recommendation and reference letters. Ensure you have your TRCN, of course, certificate and license will give you an upper edge. Come on. Then you should have your international passport. Then be ready to also provide your criminal check certificate. Of course, you're also going to go through your medical examinations. So all these put together will help you to have an edge and greater chances of being considered for the job. It's nothing so serious, but you have to follow the directives. Let me run them down again. Let me run through all that you need to gather for your application. First and foremost, you must be qualified and interested. Of course, nobody should force you to go to teach in the UK when you're not ready and willing to do that. So you have to be qualified and interested. You have to have teaching experience. The higher your experience and achievements in the teaching profession, the higher your chances. Of course, you have to have your TRCN certificate because teaching job is a regulated profession. Now, if you have your license, of course, it's an edge for you over others. Besides that, remember you need to have your UKVI General Training IELTS certificate. Okay? Do not make the mistake of writing the regular General Training IELTS result certificate. Pardon me. Do not make the mistake of writing the regular General Training IELTS test. You are to write the UKVI General Training IELTS test. Then, ensure you build a UK standard resume. The timeline should be awesome. You know what I mean by a timeline on your resume? You have to make it awesome. Of course, there shouldn't be gaps. So ensure that if you left a school, ensure that the next school you taught in or you worked for should follow. All right. Then you have to establish your vision, you have to establish your objectives, you have to establish your hobbies and all of that. So build all of these and get yourself prepared. Shoot your applications to as many of the non-maintained schools in the UK as you can. All right? In England, to be specific, ensure you build as many apply to as many of the non-maintained schools as possible in England. You may consider Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland, and some other regions, right, where you can be allowed to work without a QTS for about 4 years. So good luck to you. Should you have any question, of course, drop your questions and inquiries at the comment section of this video. I'm also going to drop the links to file your application. I'm also going to drop the link that will guide you on your step-by-step applications. It is a DIY thing. You don't necessarily need to go through any agent. Come on, you can do it yourself. Now, if you need an IELTS preparatory center, you can also reach out to us, right? We will guarantee your excellence as long as you're ready to put in the hard work. All right, please share this video, subscribe to our page, and good luck to you once again. My name is Ben, and this is Tatek TV.